Here we go, another day in paradise. Some new products. Yours truly's t-shirt, another Miller t-shirt. Trials GOV132. Neck warmer, lovely little hat. So get on the pace, get some Miller gear, all on our website, and top quality, low prices, couldn't be better. So there we go. A few of the items on our website. In the workshop today, 1912 Rudge, single speed, direct drive, total nightmare. And of course the next year they brought out the Rudge Multi, which is 22 gears against one. So can you imagine riding in this, the TT? This is a TT model. Coming around Ramsey Hairpin with one gear. It must have been a total nightmare struggling up the Snaefell. You'd be okay going down the other side, but going up it'd be slow. But so when they brought the 22 speed Rudge Multi in the next year, obviously they won everything. And can you imagine get up the mountain Snaefell with 22 gears at your disposal against one? We're having trouble with the mag here, so Jim was going to run through what the problem was. So
it's a bit of a strange Magneto, this one. It's a copy of a CEV Magneto, and they were notorious for having the points assembly wearing out very badly. They had a little roller that used to wear away. So this one has been converted to the Lucas points assembly, but it's been done, it's the wrong hand. This Magneto rotates in this direction, which is anti-clockwise from the drive end. But these points in here are for the clockwise Magneto. Although they work, they don't work very satisfactorily. So I've got another Lucas base plate here which I've machined, because the fitting is different, which is the other hand, and we're in the process of converting it to the correct hand so the points open correctly for the anti-clockwise direction. Hopefully they will have a better spark and be more reliable.
I quite like that idea, in close if you can. So that just, you've got a spline drive.
Going this way actually, but
yeah, there you go. Nice spline drive rather than a taper. And
obviously you're feeding in from the other way, but that just demonstrates the spline drive.
Nice. So that's a nice feature. So we're on the case. Right, what else are we on with here? Right, let's have a look at this. As you know, we've got 4 Rumis in the museum collection just recently, so I managed to pick this up from Mike Webster. He's the previous owner, and so he kindly donated this bottom end to the museum. Here you go. You've got this is wonderful because the crankcases are split horizontally, so you can put everything together and drop the top bit on, rather than the British idea where you get 2 halves in Bultaco and also nightmare. You put all the gears on one side and you try to hammer the other side together, and you don't know what's happening. So here you can see how all the gears work. So how do the gears work? That's your selector mechanism here. You've got 4 speeds because you get 1, 2, 3, 4 gears. If you find you've got a gearbox and a load of bits, how do you get all the gears together? Well, easy. The biggest gear is the sleeve gear, that's bottom gear. So you've got that one and the smallest gear. So if you're on the bench, you would get the biggest gear and the smallest gear, put them together, count the number of teeth. You'd probably find you've got 60 teeth. So then you go to another set, put them together so they all add up to 60. So, but you have different sizes. As you see, when you get back to top gear here, they're almost the same size of gears. That's your sleeve gear, that's your drive. Sprocket is on there, that's quite nice. That's the kickstart ratchet. The kickstart is on there and drives that. Then that drives the crank. So you've got a lovely little crank here. Lovely little neat conrods. The bore is 42 mil and the stroke is 45. So it's slightly off square. But then Bultacos and ulcers. When I was with Bultaco, we set off for the 60 mil stroke and we bored it out absolute maximum to 72. Senior bolter and everybody thought it wouldn't work, but it worked a total dream. and that's 1965 when I designed and worked with a Voltaco, and they're still using the same bore and stroke today, 72mm bore, 60 stroke for 250s. Anyway, that's a lovely gear. The gears all sliding dogs in here. For those who want to see how the gears work, if you have a look in here, you see how the dogs match up together. So that one drives in there and drives that one goes in there and drives that one. So, and then you've got the selector mechanism that operates off here that pulls your sprockets apart. So end up lovely gearbox, lovely design, typical Italian. How you mount engines, all the engines in the museum, I get these from the local car people, disused scrap brick discs. So there you go, nice steady base, couple of brackets, put your hinge on it there, coat of paint, top job, in no time at all. So we move on to the latest project, AJS 7R. Front nose cone here, we'll just drop that off and let you see. That's the Speedo drive. But the weight of that is horrendous. I wonder what weight it is actually. So there you go, 3.5 kilos. So can you imagine giving that a trip, 7 laps around the Isle of Man and the TT? The weight of that is horrendous, but it was really the wear. A very heavy rev counter. It's the only one you could get, so you had really little option. But however, weight in those days, they didn't twig on. It was very, very important. So we'll drop that off there. And the engine, we feel this is an ex-Mike Hailwood bike because a lot of the paperwork, Bill Lacey was the tuner who tuned Mike's bike, but it's got twin plugs. The idea of that is if you get 2 instantaneous sparks in the combustion chamber, you get a far better combustion, and it did work very well. So most of the works Nortons, works AJs use twin plug head. Quite difficult to get in here. If you notice here, Miller had to make that tool up to get in there. So that goes in there and you feed that through there, and that's how you get the plug in there. So quite tight. You see the plug in there, very, very tight. Very big bore carburetor, 35mm, which is a bit serious for a 350. That's the rubber insulation block, which is very important. It stops the vibration of the engine getting to the carburetor, causing it to froth up. So there you go, 35mm bore. Have a look down in there if you can, because the ports are perfect down in there. And then you've got a bigger exhaust pipe here than standard. That's 1 3/4, which is bigger than standard. In the early days, they called these the matchbox carburetors. They should have really called them rubbish float bowls, because that matchbox float bowl isn't big enough to keep a constant supply of fuel to the carburetor. So later they went to a much bigger float bowl, but the matchbox, absolute disaster. I think nobody twigged on them were rubbish and kept carburation problems and so forth, but literally because, can you imagine how little fuel there is in there to feed a 7R flat out down the Solby Strait, gulping fuel by the bucketful. So there you go, that's rubber mounted too again to cut down vibrations. On the paperwork also, you can see this frame here, that gusset is being put on. Ken Sprayson, Reynolds Tubes, he did that reinforcements on special bikes. So once again, all adding to Mike Hailwood's bike. He also put this chain oiler in here, using that top tube as a primary chain oiler. Because the old Reynolds chains used to take a bit of stick, and if you didn't put oil on them, they just seized up and flew off during the 6 laps of the TT. We can't find a frame number in this because obviously Ken didn't bother, but that's over where the frame number should be. We've got an engine number which matches up with the paperwork, which is quite handy. Magnesium crankcases, Lucas Racing Mag, and cable over rear brake, which helps. You don't want a raw operating rear brake when your back end's popping up and down. So there we go. Big scoops on the front brake. That's to keep the front brake cool. This is long before discs came into transactions, you know. And notice, funny enough, there seems to be no steering damper in this bike. It should go through here, so have to do a bit of research why the steering damper is being dismissed, which is very important. Actually, that doesn't help the steering either. Can you imagine that flopping round flat out down Sulby Straight or something? If you start to get a little bit of a head shake on, you got this lot here helping to get a head shake on. So brave men turn pale and others flee to the woods. But on your next visit, we'll have this all apart, complete strip out. We'll let you have a look at the inside of the engine. Let's hope it's not too grim, but still a lot of 7R parts about, because various people make replica engines, so we should be able to get replica spares if we need any. Apparently it's got big bearings on the crankshaft too, which is work special, so be nice to check that out. So there we go, lovely project, another day in paradise, and onwards and forwards.